Hello folks, I hope you're well and I hope you've had a good weekend and are looking forward to the next one. I am too. Now in this video I've got 4 news items for you, and in addition to that an extended news feature-ish kind of thing, and also music trivia. We are looking at, I don't know, home economics this time around, and I've got a Beatles question for you. It's a simple one. Before Dylan turned the band onto marijuana, naughty boy as he was, what was the Beatles' favourite drink? One more time. Before Dylan turned them onto marijuana, what was the Beatles' favourite drink? Now, I'm not sure if the Beatles' drinking habits are widely discussed. It's not something I'm too aware of. So this question kind of taught me a lesson, I must say. So have a think about the drink. I'll give you the answer to the question at the end of the video. Until then, HiFi News. And to begin with, we're looking at PRIMARE and the SP25 Prisma Home Cinema preamplifier stroke processor. There is a mouthful. It's out now-ish, well, this month at any rate. The SP25 Prisma includes 4K dynamic HDR switching and eARC with 11 channels of processing and preamplification, supported by a custom linear power supply and tuned output stage. As many as 17 customizable input presets are offered, combined with 5 customizable speaker setup presets. You get a lot of choice, folks. You also get dual 8-channel DAC chips, which allocates 4 channels of conversion when delivering a signal to the front outputs. You also get Dirac live room correction, while control and connectivity are provided by the Prisma remote. And that's capable, by the way, of controlling virtually every PRIMARE model, past and present, as well as any video display with over-the-air update capabilities. Dolby Atmos and DTS-X are included, as well as connections to the usual music services. Oh, and the SP25 is Roon ready. Price is £4,300. Next, Orchard Audio, and they have the new Star Crimson Mono Ultra Premium. Arriving in an aluminium chassis, the Ultra Premium uses gallium nitride technology, which, according to Orchard, improves the overall sound quality. The Star Crimson Mono Ultra offers 250 watts into 8 ohms and is fully balanced from input to output. In terms of price, well, I only have a dollar price right now, and that dollar price is 5 cents short of $2,500. So $2,500 basically, but if you pre-order, you will save yourself some cash, around $350 or so, because the price on pre-order is $2,149.95. If you want to know more, I'll put a link below. Next, the Lumin P1 Mini, let's not forget, Mini, has arrived finally in the UK via the UK distributor Sound Design Distribution. Now, the P1 Mini is designed to be used as a streamer, a DAC, or a preamplifier. or the whole lot at once, basically. You get stereo analog input. Digital inputs include USB. I think you can run that up to DSD 512. You get optical, which you can run up to 24-bit 192 via DOP. You get HDMI 2 with 4K pass-through. You get digital outputs, which include USB again, and that also runs up to DSD 512. You get BNC SPDIF, that runs up to 24-bit 192 and DSD 64. You also get HDMI as well. In addition, there's a sort of dual network interface that manages switching between the P1 Minis, Ethernet, and the SFP fiber ports. Apparently, they provide isolation from network noise. Fed by a new internal toroidal power supply, the P1 Mini's analog output stage is similar to the larger P1, including a fully balanced layout featuring the dual ES90 28 Pro Sabre DACs, supported by dual femtocrystal oscillators, plus Lumin's own FPGA clock distribution system. Control for all of this? Well, you either have an app or there's a new handheld remote made from acrylic and zinc, of all things. Available in natural or black anodized aluminium. Price is £4,195. From FiiO is the SR11 at $99. What is it? Well, it's a low-cost streaming solution, and they're becoming pretty popular of late. The SR11 is a lossless streaming music receiver, which is ideal for plugging into legacy hi-fi systems, radio, active speakers, all that kind of thing. The SR11 supports AirPlay and is Roon ready. It offers dual-band Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and supports up to 32-bit 768 kHz PCM, of course, plus DSD256. The SR11 includes an LCD display screen, aluminium body. You get digital cables and power cables in the box as well. That, my friends, is your hi-fi news. Let's do an extended news item. Now, in this particular video, I wanted to chat briefly-ish about MQA. Now, good gracious, this sound format has caused some grief amongst hi-fi fans and other audiophiles. I'm sure, well, you may not have noticed, but many of you will have noticed. Founded by undoubted hi-fi legend Bob Stewart of Meridian fame, the format has divided opinion throughout its existence. Those in favour of MQA say that it corrects timing errors in the digital domain and that it has solved the issue of packing a lossless file into a smaller space without degrading sound quality. Some other people will have said, well, by basic data standards, MQA is actually not lossless at all. It's lossy because you discard certain digital information during the play process. Now, those people who dislike MQA dislike the fact that anyone who uses it has to pay a license fee for it. MQA is not an open format. It's not free to use like, say, FLAC, for example. Also, creators lose a little bit of control because their music, when it's submitted to MQA, well, it's changed even subtly, and often that's too much for most people. It'll probably be too much for me, to be honest with you. MQA does subtle changes to improve sound quality. And as for those timing corrections I mentioned earlier, many people actually disagree with the promised sound improvements. Now, those same people who disliked MQA were extraordinarily happy to see the whole company file for bankruptcy last year. I don't know whether you knew about this, but MQA went down, and then it was bought by the Canadian company Lenbrook. And let me remind you, Lenbrook own people like NAD and Blue OS and PSB speakers and more. Question then, why has Lenbrook bought MQA? Well, some commentators say that Lenbrook really has little or no interest in MQA as a sound format. What really interests them is something else that's part of the package. A codec, actually. This codec was produced by the MQA staff and it was called SCL6. That codec was also sometimes called MQA, but that MQA-esque name was often seen in a negative light, so was dropped. So what is SCL6? SCL6, which has so attracted Lenbrook. It is, wait for it now, a time domain optimized scalable codec. Basically, a codec that will come into its own via wireless technologies and streaming and that kind of thing. This codec apparently promises studio quality sound even at low bit rates. Oh, and now it's no longer called SCL6. It's had a name change. It's now called Area. I think that's how you pronounce it. Area. Not the greatest name, I would say, in the world, but still. Now, Area, well, it works kind of like aptX HD or LDAC or any of those other codecs because it packages sound ready for transmission. Thing is, Area is not limited just to Bluetooth. It can be used with any wireless tech, with any file type, and it has nothing to do with MQA. It's a completely separate entity all on its own. And in terms of data rates, well, Area can work with music up to and including 24-bit 384 kilohertz. This is, may I remind you, way ahead of any other wireless codec currently on the market. No wonder Lenbrook is interested. Now, I mentioned one of the companies that Lenbrook owns is called PSB. You may have heard, you may have seen, you may own a pair of their speakers. Apparently, PSB is going to make a set of headphones, and that, or they, will use Area in and amongst their software technology. In addition to that news, Lenbrook has admitted it's done some pilot tests with Area using the codec for streaming services. It's done some distribution tests, basically. So, will Area be the successful technology that arises, phoenix-like, out of the MQA ashes? We will see. What do you think? I'd be interested in your comments. And that is that. But before I say a final goodbye, let's get back to the Beatles and trivia. And to remind you, the question is, before Bob Dylan got his grubby mitts on the Beatles and introduced them to marijuana, what was the Beatles' favourite drink until that point? And the answer is, it was Scotch and Coke. All through the madness of Beatlemania, John, Paul, George and Ringo sustained themselves, you might say, on a beverage I suppose few people drink nowadays. In fact, Paul McCartney said, in fact, I think it was the Anthology TV documentary, he said, and I quote, "Until Bob Dylan turned us on to marijuana, we were Scotch and Coke men." Now, I'm sure, like yourself, I have seen the Anthology documentary on TV originally, and I'd forgotten all about that. So I had to sort of relearn that. Scotch and Coke, that was their tipple, their preferred tipple. Anyway, now you know. Now, I will be back same day, at least, not sure about the same time, because, you know, life, but I'll be back on the same day next week. Thank you again for all of your support. It is much appreciated and very welcome indeed. Thank you. And I'll be back, as I say, next week, same place. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.